I'm your host, David Cammy Brow, and I'm joined by Cosmob09, Rachel Brow, Charity, a.k.a. Brosy Gardner, and Brojet, a.k.a. Punky Broadster.
Punky Broadster.
You can find on ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKYDRUISETER. And we are actually Squawky Dead. So sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, and then sometimes we go the deep. And we're here to talk about The Boys' 7th episode of its 4th season, titled The Insider.
I thought we were going to see Sam in this episode from Gen V. When I saw the little thumbnail, that's what I thought.
I did too. Like, even from the opener. Oh, right. From the thumbnail for sure. Because of all the puppets. I was like, oh no, is Ryan going to see puppets too now? That would be tragic. Let's start, because I don't think we have really gotten too hard into the first impressions, but we should really say how we feel about this episode. I said this in one of the other episodes, that things are getting real, but the last episode threw me way out of whack. We were speeding through this because of that first 4-episode run. Okay, let's take that point of Starlight at the end, but not Starlight. I did sort of see that coming, that it was the changeling, but did you guys see that as well? Did you feel that as well?
The shapeshifter?
Yeah.
I did, actually.
Okay.
When she put on the costume and she was like, I bet you've been... I was like, something ain't right about this. And Huey should have known. She wanted nothing to do with it.
Most of you probably... Well, let's say Bridget, because you didn't see that coming, Rachel, right?
No, I did not. Okay.
So I did this thing. I said, oh, it's a shapeshifter. The insides of me were like, no, maybe this is okay. Maybe she's on a good stride. And she's like, he's been such a good... I don't know. Whatever. But it was the porny sex scene where like this, she's putting on an act. This is too over the top. But then again, point taken, or did you guys start to suspect something when you saw that?
I didn't suspect anything. I'm going to be real honest. I didn't know what was going on. I just was kind of like, oh, everybody's been through a lot lately.
That's what I was saying.
They need this, right?
we need this.
I was like Huey, vulnerable.
Oh, yeah. Let's read what Francisco has to say before we go back to first impressions, because I haven't forgotten.
I did.
Well, I reminded you. It's good seeing the Boys episode where they go more into the plot, but also have the usual boys shock value and political messaging. I thought this episode set up many stuff for the last season in S4 and bridge into the final season. I didn't see it coming regarding Starlight because it's a damn shapeshifter. It can be anyone. I did find it weird Starlight still has fans and one of them talked. I was sus on that as well, but I didn't link it, obviously. Who could? Do you guys think that Huey was defiled sexually in that scene? That's the second time Eric writes him to be SA'd, but with the R word. Is he going to find hilarious again?
Yes, I do think he was SA'd because he didn't know who he was with.
Well, so, he was the R word, point blank. Yeah. I hate that I have to say that too, by the way. I just want to make that clear.
I know, Rachel, but again, it flags. It flags.
Yeah.
See, I'm frustrated too. Kill is my line. We gotta say kill.
Now we just got canceled.
They flagged it.
I'm fine with it.
Nobody likes us. says we're not going to let the president get murked. I saw that. I thought that was how it was spelled. I think colloquially it's been changed.
It's possible, actually, Bridget. You might be right on that, but
it can be spelled with a U. It can be spelled with an E. It can be spelled with a K or a C.
You know what? This goes to what Rachel said about spelling words wrong. I regard it as MERC, like Charity said. No, it's spelled incorrectly. I agree. But I'm not going to split hairs.
I had said last week that I didn't really know if I liked the show anymore. This one brought me back. When we have the really gratuitous, gross stuff, then I'm like, I don't like this show. This is gross and it's grossed me out. I was spending the whole time being like, ugh. This one, there was much less of that, so I didn't feel as grossed out for so much of the episode. The way it was in the first season. The good old days.
Good old days where it was gross, but it was tolerable.
But it was like people being ripped apart, and I was like, yes! It's overall, like, that's fine, but not the sex stuff grosses me out. It skeeves me out. Anyway.
What about like the overall plot? We got Frenchie again, after all, Rachel.
We got Frenchie back, which is what we needed. Oh, maybe that is why I like this episode, actually. Oh, now that you say that. Yeah, I only like Frenchie, apparently. We had some character development on MM, which I appreciated because it feels like it was kind of just like stale for a little while for him.
They kept trying to inject him.
His character is better than that. They could have done more, and they've kind of pushed him to the back a lot of the time. There were a lot of really good scenes. The scene with Vicky and Huey. I like the twist at the end with the shapeshifter. I did see it coming because I write the show.
Oh, wow. That's been a while. You didn't write the last show.
No, I did not.
The last episode.
I'll take zero responsibility for that. I liked Ashley's development in this episode. I thought that was interesting.
Yes.
Very, very interesting.
Very.
There was really a lot to love about this episode. The connection between Kimiko and Frenchie.
Yeah, Frenchie came back. So it was a great episode. Second to last in the season. So they had to take some big swings. We got a lot to clear up in just one episode, but I feel like it was a decent setup for a finale, but also into season 5, right? Because we're getting 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
So
mentioned that last or 2 episodes ago.
we'll get a wrap up here.
It's
And
Kripke,
then-
we're actually getting 15. He's a bold-faced liar because he said the same thing about Supernatural.
I will disagree with Bridget on one thing. I love the gross over the. Well, no, you said the sex stuff. I would agree with this. Like, I could do without the sex stuff unless it's pertains to the storyline somehow. Unless they're gonna like explode the wieners.
I'm not offended by it. I don't like the gratuitous sex portion of the show. I never really have. When Homelander ripped apart Webweaver, that was awesome. It was so gross. That I love. But I only find it gross. I do not see the humor in it.
I'm going to be very clear about my position on this. There's lots of things I don't like that they say and do on the show. And I think Bridget and I kind of agree on that, at least. But it's not as though I will stop watching the show because of it. It's just like, okay, skip. I get what they're trying to say. And at least in this episode, it might be a slight focal point because of the words January 6th, etc., and all that stuff. But
Yeah, that was pretty heavy-handed, wasn't it?
As far as everything else, it's easily skippable in my brain. Even, let's say, some of the more offensive things, or like the urinal that connected to the mask that made me conservative forever. Again, maybe. I never was conservative, but now I'm conservative. I'm so conservative, I'm conservative again. That's how conservative I became.
He went all the way back around.
Right, I came back around and so, wait, am I still conservative? I went there twice. But again, I'm still watching it and I am still enjoying the show, actually.
There are parts to like, definitely. But, you know, Dave, to that point, it's valuable then for people like you and I who don't like some of it to voice our opinions, because there are other people out there like us that feel the same way, but don't want to like stop watching something just because of that.
Right. Rage
like,
quit.
I don't know. That's
Or
how I feel about it.
Or what's worse than hate watching? Really?
Well, what's the point of that?
What's the point? But people do it. And
I
here's
don't
the thing.
get it, but yeah.
That's the thing. If I felt that badly about it, I would say, hey, girls, you can handle the show. I don't really want to. I'm not there. I'm not even close to there. But Kissy Point, this is what we do.
You shouldn't be finding your world knowledge or your moral compass through television.
Right. Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you shouldn't be like watching this and then evaluating the rest of the world through the lens of this show. That's ridiculous.
I'll be perfectly honest, too. There are other shows where I would rage quit, and that's it. That's the end of it.
For sure.
And I'll voice my opinion about it, and my opinion has so much weight on it. But even then, I don't really tend to voice my opinions on the things I don't like anyway, because that's not what we do.
My thought is, if I don't like it, it's not for me. And what's for you is for you. And what's for me is for me. And that's
Nailed
fine.
it. And here's where the real crux of the argument is, because there's so many people determined to, when they don't like something, tell others and shame them for liking it. That's just pointless. Like you said, Charity, it's entertainment. There's no real world consequences to watching this entertainment. Not really. And anybody who does like the things that we don't like, well, it's just your echo chamber anyways. Echo chambers are natural. We do them without thinking. And if we do think, we will be horrified. But here we are. As long as you don't shame others into liking the things they like, or out of liking the things they like.
That's the thing. I don't like reality television, but it certainly is popular. So there are tons of people watching it. Not like going around telling people like, you're an idiot if you watch reality television.
Yeah, just because you're a terrible person, Bridget, doesn't mean that...
I know. It's okay. All people are terrible, Dave.
Agree to disagree, and that's the point.
You know what was
Totally.
interesting about that is like this season, it was like he was almost likable for a minute. And then he killed his octopus wife.
You mean
and then you're like,
Ambrosius?
oh God, both of my legs are broken.
there's the other leg.
I think I'm still fine, but my legs are both broken.
That scene did make me like, huh? Because he had her out of the tank earlier in the episode.
I wasn't sure if that had something to do with the way that octopi exist, because they will escape their tanks and stuff. But I'm wondering if they collect water and like hold it in before they do that.
Yep.
And she wasn't given like an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
That's exactly what it was, by the way.
Right. No, I know they can't stay out of the water forever or anything, but like she's dying pretty quickly. And then she didn't, but then she did. And then she didn't again, and then she finally did.
Even in my notes, I wrote, oh, God, she's being a little dramatic, isn't she? In my head, I was thinking, oh, she's going to do that. I'm dying. She's going to gaslight him to get him to come back.
I was waiting for a tentacle to like come under the closet door.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. We didn't see a body, so.
It's true. We didn't see a body.
No one's gone until they're gone.
Oh, again, you got to bring that chestnut back, Bridget.
I'll bring it back forever because it's dumb.
Even more than just the silliness. I mean, I wish it wasn't silly. It was actually kind of dramatic seeing the Deep and Ambrosius having this fight, because it's weird. It's almost a real scenario with unrealistic characters. Like, okay, superhero on one side, talking to him, at least, octopus on the other side, but it's a real scenario. She appreciates me. She respects me. No one respects you like I do. I love you, Kevin. Kevin is his name, in case you people forgot.
Black Noir.
Sorry, Black Noir. Deep Noir.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. She's been lobotomizing herself to sleep with you too. And he's like, lobotomize? And I was like, that is amazing.
By the way, now they're Eskimo bros. So
they are.
How about that?
Yeah, I was happy to see Deep get his booty kicked. Like I said, I had started to kind of change my opinion about him this season. And I even was questioning that because I'm like, he's such a sleazy guy. Like, I'm not supposed to like him. Like, why are they doing this? I think it was just to subvert expectations again. Because then this episode, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's right. You are the scum of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
Yeah.
The fact that he took this public apology speech to her and like reused those lines. I'm not sorry. I do not respect your truth or whatever. And I was like, wow, dude, he's been holding that in that whole time.
That's informative too. He's been thinking about this the whole time. Now, is it because he feels bad? No, it's because he's thought about all the ways in which, I was right to do this. I am a monster. Kind of goes with to Ashley says, this place makes you.
It's easy to become a monster.
Monster here. Yeah. And of course, the Deep is so stupid that he doesn't realize it when it's happening too. And that's never been more emblematic. And I actually did feel something when the Deep was behind that closed door. You love her. She doesn't love you. She doesn't respect. It was a real dramatic moment for him and a real turning point for him. And I'll kill all the aquatic life in the ocean just for you, Homelander. Because now I'm a killer, basically. I'm a killer. I've killed someone. So now that's me forever.
Well, he ate Timothy last season, so it's not the first time he's killed.
He was forced to do it.
No,
Frenchie was forced
this is the thing. He ran and hid like a little bee. And then to Homelander, he's like, I'll kill anyone. And it's like, but you didn't actually though. You just let her die.
And of course he's responsible for that. If in fact Ambrosius is dead, by the way, I'm just going to hold on to that. Because I would like a comeback though. It would just
she comes back with an inhaler.
And she'll tell the story too to make him feel that just before killing him. That would be something.
I wish.
Just kind of like what I said about The Stranger and how in existentialism or nihilism, when you feel as though there's no turning back, this is who you are now. This is what he's going through. And again, the fact that he's so stupid in general as a character, it's just his thing. It's a superpower, how stupid he is. He leans into it right away. He becomes the thing that he thinks he is right away. And he commits to it by, I'll get him. I'll get all the aquatic life just for you, Homelander. That's who I am now. I'm a killer. Yeah. As if you didn't hate him enough. There's like one extra layer. So no more feeling bad about him being teased and stuff, right, Rachel? I think you were the one who expressed that a little bit. You don't want to feel bad for him, but you did in that moment.
Not anymore.
I still think he's just a big old dum-dum and very impressionable. Like Ashley said, it's easy to become a monster in that place. I think the Deep is a good example of he met the wrong people first.
I was still thinking that. We were saying this in Game of Thrones, how basically almost every single character on that show is flawed and you can feel bad for them. Here we are finding ourselves at certain points in this show, even feeling bad for Homelander, even after he ripped Webweaver in half with his bare hands. Wow. Why the rage, brah? Let me go to Francisco, though, because I know he said a lot of things, and I do want to say them. Francisco says, Huey and Starlight were having sex all the time in the comics. It's the norm. Ah, ha, ha, ha. This show is done thinking what the world is offended or not offended by. If they had homophobia, I am sure the show would be tried to get canceled since the comics was filled with because of all the gay soups. Right. Okay. So the comic book was very homophobic, just so everybody knows, just to give that comic context. And there were gay soups, etc. I actually find it strange the Deep could fight so much in the fight scene alone when during the entire season, he haven't seen any of it. Although he gets kicked by a soup who can't use her powers and Black Noir got nerfed by a machine gun. Well, he didn't get nerfed. He's still walking around. I miss the old Noir.
Unless you mean he took it like it was a Nerf gun, then yes.
It seems like the Deep loves killing his own kind, but he's not his own kind. That's the tragic irony of stupid Deep.
Well, I think the gills make him at least part aquatic.
Not even at all. If we were to see the Deep as tragic, right? Because they do kind of go into this. They make fun of him because of this is like the same play on Aquaman in DC Comics. What do you even do, bro? You talk to fish and you get stronger in the water? Whoop-de-doo. And so that's the Deep. What if Aquaman were really stupid and the misogynist?
That's the Deep.
The Deep. And yet, what does he say to Ambrosius? She has 4 legs.
4 limbs.
Limbs, right. So what does that say? It says he wants to be loved by who he actually is, a human. That's the thing. He's not accepted in the human world, the thing that he actually is, and he can never really belong to the Deep, to the water, essentially. I meant aquatic life. That's all I mean by that. So the Deep seems to be turning more like that S1 A-Train, which is a pure a-hole, while A-Train is on his best redemption arc ever. I agree with that, actually. A-Train was pretty awful, S1. I actually watched a little S1, too, to get some reference points. But Ashley's outfit, I was like, oh, what did she wear in the first season? Yeah, to compare the different styles. Chase Crawford said in an interview that he didn't thought Tilda was voicing Ambrosia. He said she thought she was high. I think she would have to be.
I know he didn't know that Tilda Swinton was doing the voice. Neither did I, Chase. You and I have that in common. I should have, because I did recognize it, but I couldn't place it.
Call me, Chase.
What did he mean she thought?
He thought she was high to take the role, basically. Or also high during the VO session, basically.
Okay.
Why not? I would be. This is ridiculous what I'm saying. Ashley did one good thing in this episode to redeem herself from the depraved S last week. She fired someone out of Vought to save her. I thought that was great too. And good on her. Also, her photo with the Che Guevara t-shirt in, was it Florence? What was she saying? Is it Florence?
Florence.
Okay. Yep. Good on Francisco, because I actually think we should talk about that next, because the first time we see A-Train and she meet, she's the one who wants to leave. A-Train ends up being the one who leaves with his family. Thank goodness, because they've been through enough. I never give first impressions, but that was one of the things that I was looking at the most. Obviously, I like that Frenchie's back. Obviously, I like that they staged a slow reconnection between he and Kimiko, and they hashed it out and they talked about the thing. And now let's see where that goes. I want to see that go further. For all of that, we should get payoff. That's not enough for me. Yes, I'm being that guy. Okay, so going back to Ashley, that's the thing that I really enjoyed the most seeing, because even she is confronting all that she's done. Even she's acknowledging that she's become a monster. She's good at this stuff, but now she might, maybe, which is why she stays, use her powers for good. That's a question for everybody.
Hopefully.
I would think if Ashley's going to go out, which will probably happen just based on the fact that she's not leaving, that I would hope if she's like found the strength to stay and be intentional with that staying, that she's going to go out in a blaze of glory.
So hold on a second, because blaze of glory is pretty specific, because that means obviously she's going to die.
Well, a lot of people are going to die. And I thought a lot of that was hinted at in this episode. You know who else is going to die, in my opinion? And I'm mad about it. MM.
And Sharon said A-Train, which is a common thing that we kind of bring up. I don't know that MM is going to die. I'm ambivalent. I can't make a prediction.
It's going to be being the real hero. I think he's going to finally get to be an actual hero.
Well, we have to ask the question first, though, because he's gone, his family's gone. Is he going to come back?
I think he will.
He might just be getting his family someplace safe before he comes back and tries to do something. Or that might be it. Maybe that's A-Train getting off the show.
He just came and gave MM a bunch of trash about leaving when you could be the hero and you need to be the hero. It's Kafka's gun, literally. especially because he knew that she had just done the same for somebody else.
That's pretty cool mirror for A-Train. He saved MM and she saved this probably nice and greatest assistant she might have ever had, and she saves her anyway. I'm actually ambivalent though, because I would be okay if A-Train left on this note, because even the idea that he's out there in the world after doing some good in it, I can be okay with him leaving the show. He and Huey had their resolution, which is very important to us as viewers, because that's what sets Huey off on his hero's journey.
It's the catalyst for literally the entire show.
Right, exactly. So I can be okay with that. And everything that can happen after that could be disastrous, and at least he's shielded from that if he manages to stay a normal dude and not a soup. Because the second he turns into a soup and it gets on the internet, Homelander's going to go zip zap and get him.
Maybe he's gone for the rest of the season.
Mm.
But I think he does come back in a final battle type of way.
Maybe, yeah. You know what, though? I do want to say this before I forget, because Belize, and then we have the boys Mexico. I know that they said that they weren't explicitly going to stage the spin-off show. Some shows reference things from other shows. Now we have to talk about this. Do you think MM's family makes it because of that?
Oh, well, they're not owned by the same property, so I don't think they would. Well, that's true. Kripke is like pretty notorious for referencing other things.
Game of Thrones did it in the last episode with Elmo Tully and Grover Tully, and it's just like an homage.
But that's right? George R.R. Martin. That's not...
A lot of people do homages, like they'll sneak in something that is supposed to be a reference to something else, but it could have greater significance or not. It could be, you know.
No, Dave, I don't think so.
Do any of you think something?
I've heard it both ways.
For the audio podcast, I'm shaking my head no.
I'm completely going away from what we were just speaking about, so I'm sorry, but it's just something that popped in my head when I was watching the episode, and I was like, I want to talk about this.
You gotta get it in.
When Butcher is with Kessler at kind of the beginning of the episode, and they're going to the apartment where the shapeshifter is, and Kessler and him are in that back alley, which weirdly looked like the alley from They Live. It reminded me of that whole interchange.
I think that was filmed in Toronto too, by the way.
When they're talking, Kessler and him, it was very obvious to me that Negan's backstory is essentially Butcher's backstory. Negan from The Walking Dead, who's also played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, that's where this correlation came from. I'm sorry, anyone who did not watch The Walking Dead. Spoilers ahead. When we get the 10C episode about Negan and Lucille, it goes in a lot to like how the relationship was near the end, but he had been really bad to her before that. He had cheated on her. He had been bad to her. He wanted to honor her after she was dead. But how can you honor someone who isn't living anymore? All of that language that he was using to attack Butcher, I was like, this is all applicable to Negan.
The first thing you think of when you think Negan, oh, it's Negan's backstory. Yeah, he killed a bunch of people that we loved, right? Rachel's thinking that too.
I'm like, Butcher wasn't a gym teacher.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fair.
She blocked out the thing that I thought she was going to think immediately.
Well, no, when she said backstory, I'm thinking pre-apocalypse. So I'm picturing Negan. Butcher's not a gym teacher.
He might have been.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Might have. We don't know.
The whole conversation was so specific, and it felt like you could have taken that dialogue out and plugged it in to The Walking Dead, to someone like chastising Negan, and it would have been very applicable.
Mm-hmm. The examples that you shared do sound a lot like Negan.
Again, they're not owned by the same property, so I just was hypocritical of something I said. But
my counterpoint is that it is a trope. It's seen in television before.
Yeah, it is.
Guy trying to make the world right where it once was wrong, but then all of a sudden there's a twist. Oh, he cheated on this woman that he loved. It's something we've seen before.
It is. I just wonder if that
not just in The Walking Dead.
If there was something reminiscent there for Jeffrey Dean Morgan as an actor. Like I wondered if he was like,
added
weird
flavor to that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I don't even care if it is or isn't the thing. I like that you made it a thing. So that's headcanon for me. I don't care. It's great. And for those of you who watched The Walking Dead along with us for the last 5.5 years, that's a nice little treat for you too. And now choosing to watch us on The Boys. So you're welcome. Let's catch up with Francisco, because we said a lot of things that he responded to. Wait, I think you're right about A-Train and ending becoming the hero in the story, David. He gives a contrast on how I already took credit. He gives contrast on how he started being a bad soup, and supposedly all the soups in the show end up being rooted in bad. I think the show just paints all superpowers as a result of the worst parts of them emerging, let's say. I mean, look at Huey's dad. That was quintessential. The worst part about him magnified into powers. I think MM is going to have a miracle comeback, take V and kick Homelander's buttocks. Give him feed up milk, his mother's milk, which we talked about in the last episode. Speaking of MM, what do you good C words think about what Laz did about suggesting Eric Kripke a cliffhanger in S5 about the boys and do a movie to finish stories? Laz Alonso, who plays Mother's Milk.
Well, look here. While I would love that, I will not sit around waiting for a movie that may or may not ever happen. Thank you, Scott Gimple. You've ruined me for life, sir.
I have to admit, that has ruined me as well.
I second that.
And for those who need context, The Walking Dead, just at the close of season 8, I think it was, yes. During that summer in San Diego Comic-Con, they announced the Walking Dead movie that never came to fruition.
Not
However,
just a movie, Dave, a trilogy of movies.
A possible trilogy. I paid attention to the words very carefully. He said, we don't know what it's going to be. It could be a trilogy. That's what we're thinking. Now, COVID happened. It changed everything, but I think changed it for the better. But at the time, we didn't have the wherewithal to really digest. When we get promised something, we feel like we're owed something, even though we contributed nothing to it. Even though we're fans, yes, I get it. That's the origin of that. Now, as a result, what I contend is much better. We got these spin-offs to continue the universe, and TV is the medium for these sort of things at this point.
I just wanted to watch it in a movie theater.
I think they should do more movie events or movie theater events, like for premieres or crossovers, like they did for The Walking Dead season finale of season 8 into season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, which I thought was brilliant, peak, good way to get people back into the swing.
I shouldn't say I've never seen any Walking Dead property on a big screen because I've been to a couple of premieres now. It feels so special to be in that room with other people that like the same thing that you do. It just creates this level of community. You don't really get that feeling when you're at home by yourself in front of the TV. So
take notes, AMC. We know you're watching now.
Take notes, everyone.
So this is a good opportunity to finish what Francisco said. First of all, Belize Fallout, laughing emoticon. Nicely done. You guys are amazing. I didn't caught that, and I'm a Negan fan. It's good that we can still surprise you. I like impressing you, Francisco. Though I have noticed
Dave
that Butcher
is
seeing
the one who impressed you, but it's fine.
No, I mean in general. I meant colloquially, like all of us. Also, I took credit. It's fine. Though I have noticed that Butcher seeing Kessler is similar to how Negan sees his old self, knowing Kessler is Butcher. Oh, look at that. Francisco topped us. He added a little bit on top of that. Actually, I didn't like that Butcher betrayed his wife with a waitress. Butcher didn't betray Becca in the comics. But I do like this little wrench in the whole thing. For all the things that he says and does, you're supposed to not like him about. All the things that he treats his team so badly, and then you get the human moments and all that stuff. This is the one thing that maybe might get you to feel actually like he's a not so great guy. Okay, I know I have divisive opinions about Matrix Resurrections, but I actually loved the movie because it was a fresh take on the Matrix and also referenced lore outside of the trilogy, which I actually enjoyed at least about that. When The Matrix came out, I saw all 3 movies in theaters, midnight showings, all of them. And then I got the Animatrix and all the other surrounding stuff because I was obsessed with getting DVDs and stuff like that. It was a different time. So I do like the extended lore about it too. There are a couple of plot points that Francisco's supposed to remind me of, so I don't forget. But before I go into mine, what do you guys want to talk about next? Because we might think the same thing.
I want to talk about when Sage left Homelander and she's like, there's one person that you can't beat. And then she throws down the Queen Maeve book on the table.
Okay, there's a lot to talk about there.
Oh, wow. I didn't even put that together.
She's been writing in that Queen Maeve book all season for little plans and things. I think we're going to see Queen Maeve come back at some point.
I was more baffled by the fact that she said that feeding A-Train the information was part of her plan.
The misinformation.
I was like, what? Lady, you're living in 2555.
Do you remember that she showed her diary or her notes?
Cameron Cole.
Yeah, I guess it was Cameron Cole. I thought she showed it to Tech Knight.
Or it might have been Tech Knight.
Well, no wonder she doesn't care if either of them are dead.
There you go. Yeah, and Tech Knight is dead too. She's so smart, she orchestrated that whole thing.
Maybe she did, actually.
It's all part of her plan.
Holy cow, my mind is blown.
Well, we should maybe talk about what her plan might be before we go into the specifics.
Well, I mean, she's all about bringing down the patriarchy, the people that won't listen to women. So I have the feeling that she is about to throw down on the patriarchy. Stan Edgar, Homelander, the Deep. Maybe she'll be chill with Noir. She seems to like him.
Wait a sec, though. I'm chill with that. And I like that you made that connection. But then I'm just starting to think, for every single interaction that she's ever had with everybody, what is the one thing that's in common with all of them? She says the thing that the other person wants or needs to hear. With the Deep, she says all the things she needs to say to him, even in the dumb state, to get him to put it in the other end. And then she does the same thing with Homelander. She says the thing that he feels at least he needs to hear, or at least what he would like to hear. What if the thing she said to Vicky Newman at the party was the thing she felt she needed to hear at the time to get her to influence her to do whatever she needs to do, to one up these old politicians? Maybe that's not how she really feels.
Yeah, but Dave, think about it. All the Supes that have died this season are men.
Oh, now you want to think. Who else has died?
Ezekiel, Tech Knight,
Ezekiel.
Cameron, whatever.
True.
What if she didn't orchestrate that? Oh, man.
Again, I am cool with what you're saying, Sharon D. Just going back to what she said, to give her credit. I only take credit away from you.
I do appreciate Sharon D's thoughts, unlike some people, Dave.
I only take credit for your stuff. I don't take credit for Sharon.
Thank you, Bridget.
Stuff.
Down with the patriarchy.
But I am a little sus because it goes to your comment, Bridget, about that's BS because Sage shut down Ashley. She shut down Firecracker. Yeah. She says the one thing and she does the other thing.
But she didn't kill them.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I don't think she's a stand-up person. Nobody is in this.
We don't know what she is.
But I think it would be interesting if she was really orchestrating all of this stuff. Sharon, do you like where your head's at?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have both things out on the table.
That's why she writes in the Queen Maeve book.
Okay. I just think it's interesting because if she's the smartest person in the whole world, which, by the way, everyone this season has always said she's the smartest woman in the world, but she is the smartest person in the entire world.
She keeps correcting everyone.
So that's a counterpoint.
She's the smartest person in the whole world. She would be 15 years beyond what any of us are thinking about.
Maybe she's already done her part, which is why, and maybe her orchestrating her own exit. Who is the one that really gets the bug in Homelander's ear about Sage? Plants that seed.
Firecracker.
Yeah. And what is she giving to Firecracker every time she sees her?
Attitude.
If she was that smart, she would have known that that's what would have gotten her kicked out.
But maybe that was part of her plan. Maybe she needs to be gone right now.
Because it's part of her plan.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
That's what I'm trying to say.
I like it.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But does she know that Firecracker is nursing Homelander on the regular?
How did Firecracker know what drugs to take? Was the information conveniently provided in her path?
Okay, I can get behind that.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Now
all
I'm a
I'm saying is
conspiracy
that,
theorist about this.
Yeah, tinfoil hats for everybody. Well, except for Rachel and Sharon D. It's just us, actually.
Well, no, put them on. Put them on, ladies.
Put them on.
Your brains need to be protected just as much as mine.
From the Jewish space lasers.
Oh my gosh.
All I'm saying, so I'm Jewish, I can say that.
Somebody pointed out to me that Firecracker's real name is on her prescription bottle. And her initials are MTG. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Come on. Okay.
I do want to bring up Francisco was saying that he heard the actress who played Maeve doesn't want to come back because
of Anthony Starr's behavior backstage.
Because of some interactions she's had with him.
I like how he put it perfectly without getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
An account said Anthony bullied Dominique, who's the actress, on set. Just to cap that whole conversation off about all of this. That's why I said it's too easy for it to be down with the patriarchy. This woman's thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 layers deep. So is it about that? She's not all she appears. She says the things that people need to exactly hear, put things into motion. It would be nice if we could get insight, because then we'd feel like, oh, we nailed something. Kripke's too clever for that.
Wait, isn't Che Guevara a revolutionary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Ashley's looking at herself wearing a Che Guevara shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Ashley's going to be the revolution.
Well, we did talk about that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe. Viva la revolution.
Okay. Well, let's go to Horion, which will be a nice segue for other things, because this whole puppet show in the beginning bookends the whole puppet show at the end, and it's live. They were rehearsing for it, and it ends up being a live show.
So weird that this was a Christmas episode, because it's airing during the hottest time of the year.
For us, yeah.
I mean,
I do think the whole premise of that even occurring,
just like the whole show. I mean, it just fits in with the whole tone of the show.
Everything's so backwards and bizarro. But a couple things to note about that. The rehearsal's happening in the beginning. They're kind of getting the lines right. It's kind of like SNL. They do rehearse before Saturday Night Live. And they figure out what to cut, what to drop. All the props are made. I already told you about this story a million times. But in between the rehearsal and the actual live show, he does open his Christmas present from Butcher, and it's a photo of he and Becca. That's the seed that gets him to stop the show. How did you feel when Ryan got up and said, no, you should love your family. They're the people you love. You shouldn't inform on them.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'm proud of him in a way. Oh, good. Okay, maybe the influence of your scummy father isn't fully taking effect. But then also to some degree, I'm like, but your dad sucks. Like, he's literally murdering people. You can inform on him.
But the people don't know that there's another father figure for Ryan. They only know Homelander.
Yeah,
so
no, I know.
When they hear this, they might attribute it to being like, well, no, but Homelander's my father. They'll think that. And like, no, I wouldn't want to inform on my dad, on John, on Homelander. So
I wanted him to finish his thought. He was clearly about to say something, and then he just runs off camera.
Aren't you glad in a way that he didn't? Because that shows a bit of growth. Because the kids are impulsive. They might say, F you, Dad. And suddenly...
I thought he was going to say something.
I would have wanted to hear it too. But whatever it was, he thought better of it. So maybe it was for the best.
We'll never know.
But I think even him not doing that is also a sign of growth. He's holding back. He's on national television. Is what he's about to say going to put somebody in danger? Could it have been about Butcher, even? Butcher's my real dad, William Butcher.
I was really proud of him for doing the right thing, ultimately. And I think Homelander kind of brushing him off in the phone message also kind of prompted him. That with the picture, the photo from Butcher, kind of pushed him into doing the right thing.
Or doing what he felt was right, at least. Whether it's the right thing, we'll see. Okay, so this is a two-parter. The second part of this question, because it's not obvious, and I like that it's not obvious, what do you think Homelander is thinking as a result of this? It's Anthony Starr, again, Emmy for that, even.
I don't know. I think I could see him twisting it in a way where he tells Ryan he's proud for standing up for what he believes in.
Even though he told him to suck it up, for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's going to maintain that track, at least, the track that we sort of like. Do you think that might have resonated with him a little bit? That he felt like he could stand up to the thing that people say he should do, even if it was him? Right? Because that's what Homelander's thing was all about. People were telling him what to do, how to feel, what to say.
Well, yeah. And Ryan's choosing his own path. So maybe Homelander will see that as, good job.
Which is why his face is so good in that scene. It's like, I'm a mix of proud, but also like disappointed.
I mean, it's how any parent would feel, right?
Francisco says, I think he was going to say what Homelander did to Becca and thought better of it. I added that so I could take credit for it. Thanks, Francisco. But he also said, I think Ryan in the ending maybe wants to become the personification of Superman rather than be Homelander, because he doesn't want people to be a laughingstock, but be loved and be rescued by his patriotism that is different than Homelander. So he's basically saying he wants to be that Superman that tries to be a symbol of real patriotism. And that means loving your family, standing up for them, providing for them, along with the superpowers. Superman wasn't always about the superpowers, about standing up for what's right, too.
True justice in the American way.
There you go. Thank you. See, I forgot about the first two because they don't exist, but the American way. I think there's one more thing at least that I wanted to bring up, and that is, yes, diving a little bit deeper on Frenchie and Kimiko and the scene with Samir. Because I don't blame Samir for doing what he did, because why not? He's obviously very scared. And one of the things that he said, and Frenchie was not very reassuring about it, was, are you going to use this on Vicky? I don't know exactly what he said, but it sounded like that in my head. So I don't blame him for that. But that intense moment when Samir does stick the new superpowered V into Kimiko's foot. Did you guys think that I did, that, oh, this is it? After all this reconciling, Kimiko's off the show in that moment?
I thought for sure she was going to die. I was like, no.
Did not
for like a second, I got scared. And then I saw it on her leg spreading, and I was like, cut it off.
You saw it. You saw it.
Even
And so did
after he
Frenchie.
cut off her leg, I was a little bit worried that it was like too late.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, you're moving a little slowly, Frenchie, for us, the audience. Like, it felt like it was taking forever.
Why is she just like tearing paper apart? I thought he gave her something to like bite on. Or I don't know what I thought he handed her, but I thought she was going to like bite it. And she's just ripping shreds of paper.
It was his Christmas present to her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing was inside of the... Oh.
You're
Yeah,
the
it happened
bee's
to-
knees.
And yes, granted, it was a pretty intense moment. I don't blame
I must
you.
have missed like a split second. It looked like she was tearing strips of paper, and I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden she had a bee in her hand, and I'm like, okay.
That's what I missed. It was a stuffed something. I thought it was a small
It was
teddy
a
bear.
bee.
It's a bee. It was a
like a
stuffed
bee.
bee, and it had a heart in its hand, and it said, "You're the bee's knees."
You're the bee's knees.
Okay, thank you. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Which was
yeah,
really funny since he was cutting off her leg at the knee.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Just
but
above
that's the
knee.
thing. Even the sawing part felt like it took forever, too.
And it's Kimiko, so I'm assuming her leg's going to grow back.
I think it already did. She was walking
still
into
had
the
it,
other
like,
room.
Tied off. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Shoot, I didn't see her walking again. I saw her sitting in the chair
You
in
know,
the
I
next
didn't-
scene.
I didn't pay too much attention. First thing I thought of was Francisco. My God, that virus is OP. Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's the thing that was supposed to kill Homelander. And now it's Kimiko. Oh.
But didn't they determine it's not going to be strong enough to kill Homelander? At least Newman?
The virus that they get from Kimiko's leg is not strong enough because the virus is going to die if it doesn't have anything to feed off of or be able to replicate. So it's possible that the extracting it from Kimiko is not going to be great. And here's what I'm thinking. Because Kimiko has that healing factor, whatever virus that's contained in that leg, whatever compound V is in that leg, either is trying to push it away, her power is trying to, like Wolverine, trying to get rid of it. It might not even work. They'll stab Homelander or Vicky with it, and they'll be like, first of all, the needle won't even go into her skin because she was shot point blank range. I don't know. All of this sounds fraught. And also, this is the thing that we need, since we started bringing up Vicky. What does the changeling do when it gets to Huey's place? What did it get from the safe?
A laptop and a hard drive?
The information that they have on Newman.
Yep.
Right. All the things that he said.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He said he even had the recordings of Vicky at the Tech Knight mansion, Vernon family house. So let's just put it this way. Sage did recruit the changeling, but what he's doing is on behalf of Vicky to enact this plan. I was thinking that maybe somehow Sage and Vicky are still working together. But again, Sage could still be putting that thing in motion, and it has nothing to do directly with Vicky because, as we saw with Huey, it seemed as though, and she could be a really good actor, but I don't think so, that she didn't even know about the internment camps for the humans that reject soups or talk badly about the U.S. So we can address both those things. Do you think Vicky is directly coordinating with Sage? And does Vicky really know about the internment camps?
I thought she did know about the internment camps, and she was just kind of blowing it off.
Seems like her face said otherwise.
Did they not talk about that at Tech Knight's house with the small
Yeah,
group
that's
of people?
what they were talking about when they were at the Tech Knight's dinner, because she's the one she got up and gave the big speech about it. So I think she knows about it and she just doesn't care.
I don't know. It didn't seem like that at the time. So, but you're saying then she was putting on an act for Huey.
When he brought it up, her face didn't
expression
change.
did change.
She was just like,
And
yeah,
he was like,
hey, thanks, bye.
yeah.
So, okay, so wait, her face did change, but you could register that change as, oh, I've disappointed my friend. I've let him down, rather than, oh, I didn't know about that.
Or it could have been like, how did you know about that?
Mm-hmm. There doesn't have to be an answer here. We'll find out either way.
Right.
But just good to point out and talk about it. Right, Bridget? Why can't you give me more stuff that I can steal?
I can't be on all the time, Dave.
She says this, and then all of a sudden she'll go, this got me thinking, as if, see, this is what I'm waiting for, so that I can steal it. Again, there was one more thing, wasn't there?
Hey, just
Francisco.
one more thing.
And one more thing.
How the changeling, the shapeshifter changed from
Oh, that
person
was
to
so
person
gross.
was so cool.
Yeah, the touch, and then the ripping of flesh.
And it was very supernatural-esque because the shapeshifters on that show, although
Yeah, they're gross in
I-
that show too.
it's pretty gross. You don't see them like ripping the flesh, but it is like a whole shedding of one and coming out as the other.
That is from Native American lore. They're called the skinwalkers. And so they literally shed their skin.
Flesh pedestrians.
Is that a supernatural reference? Oh, flesh pedestrians. Very politically correct.
That word that you said can be very triggering. And so...
But they don't exist.
They do in certain cultures.
Yes.
So on Morbid, the podcast that Bridget told me about, they had some viewers write in that said that can be very triggering for people.
Okay, I got the gist of it.
And so they came up with a new word and started calling the flesh pedestrians.
You know what Morbid can do?
You better not say anything bad about Morbid or we're going to legitimately fight.
Morbid, I do not comply with your political correctness. Thank you. Bye.
It is funnier to say, though.
It is funnier to say, ironically.
Okay, David's out here trying not to swear, but he has no problem just insulting an entire culture and community of people. That's cool.
Yeah, because I do it equally, including my Jewish space lasers.
Oh my God.
There is one thing we didn't touch on that, Francisco, you didn't remind me. William Butcher collapses at the bar when he says exclamatorily, I knew I was right to have faith in him or something to that effect. He's referring to Ryan effing off the show, the live show. So what is happening here? His eyes are open. Is he dead? I don't think so.
I think he had an attack and passed out.
It's the tumor.
It's not a tumor.
Maybe it's Tumor Kessler finally stepping in and doing something when he didn't do it before, when he should have.
He was saying earlier to his Kessler brain, why didn't you help me back there? He's
Help
basically
me.
calling for him.
Help me, Kessler. Help me.
You're my only hope.
Yeah, my only hope.
The next question is going to be, because if we're to assume that, because Francisco talked a big game about Billy Butcher wanting that in the comics, wanting the genocide. So is this how they're going to fulfill that possibility by making Kessler take over, it not being Billy? We talked a lot about things that people felt they had no choice in doing. It's been a very big buildup in this season. Frenchie, Kimiko, Starlight, MM even to a certain extent, feeling like he needed to do this thing while losing his family in the background. And now finally having them back, wanting to leave, but has to stay because he has to do something. Everybody in this story feels like they had to do something. And they're paying for it both in their feelings, what they end up doing to themselves, Ashley pulling out her hair, and is it the prior season? Either way. So it's coming to a head. Now, Butcher is completely irresponsible for what happens next, if we're to assume that it's the tumor. He literally has no choice. And then it goes back to what I said about Huey needing to learn a couple lessons in this season. Hard fought lessons. One, defending himself against that shining light guy, which he did successfully, although it was rough. And two, having to euthanize his father for fear of what he would do to anybody in his orbit. So what am I saying? You know what I'm saying. Will Huey have to put down Butcher? Or feel like he would have to? It's a good setup.
It would be very symmetrical if he did.
I would be surprised if it happened in this season.
Right. It's going to be a twist.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen now.
Do you think that actually could at least be engaged and then they'll twist and say, oh, you didn't have to do it, or they'll figure out a way out of it? I feel like it might happen even in the next episode.
Too early.
Or like okay. Even though it's the last episode, okay. Do you think that maybe the second season might actually be a continuation of this season, like just right into it because of all this?
Well, I mean, I guess we need to see what happens in the next episode before we make that determination, because there's no way of telling now.
Rachel's making a thinking face. She's like, well, I want to say something, but I'm afraid to say it. I can ask you a softball to ease us into that. Because I was going to ask you at the beginning of this episode, because you're the person. Do you think this season will wrap up at least nicely?
I like it when seasons at least wrap up the arc that we've had the entire season. Go ahead and give us a little something to get into the next season. But at least for this one, if I'm being honest, like I don't even know what what is it? The virus? The overarching thing this season?
The pandemic?
Is it Newman and Singer? I mean, it's not Homelander. He's just been like the whole entire series arc. They're not going to kill Homelander. That's not going to happen in the next episode. What is it?
What's the theme of this season?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I was saying. It seems like a lot of it is people reconciling with the people they thought they were or could be and reckoning with what they've done.
I don't think that's like a big enough
theme.
Yeah, I don't think that's a big enough theme. And it's something that's never going to be wrapped up. I mean, people are constantly battling with their choices and what direction do they go and what kind of person does this make me? And I don't see that ever stopping or changing. So it's definitely not going to get wrapped up in one episode.
Maybe the whole point is the question. Some people got somewhat of a resolution, like Kimiko and Frenchie. Even MMM decides to stay, and they patch things up. Look, they started being together at the beginning of the season, Monique and he, and then their bond is a lot more stronger than even that episode. So
well, she was with the other dude at the beginning of the season.
No, he was already gone.
What? We watched him die. Noir helped kill him earlier this season.
Yes, but she wasn't with him.
They had split up because
but
of his
he was
craziness.
still around. He was still around.
Right,
he was still around
Janine's friend.
Janine,
yeah.
Even though she stuck up for MM, and that's the only thing about the season that I didn't like, actually, is that Janine was mouthing off about the truth about Soups, even though Todd was a big Homelander fan. So that's the only thing that didn't jive with me quite right. And we didn't have enough time to talk about it.
So let me ask you guys this one last thing before we wrap it up. What are your death predictions for next week?
That's a great question, actually.
I think Firecracker's going to go, and I'm going to say A-Train.
I feel like it's leading up for certain people to die, but it seems like next episode would be too soon. So I'm not 100% sure.
It's the finale, though.
I don't think the story is going to wrap up. There's too many loose ends.
Well, I'm not saying like anything's going to wrap up. I'm just saying
She's asking about death.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying like, no, the people that I feel like are going to die, I feel like it's not going to happen this next episode. That's what I'm saying.
My prediction is that nobody dies.
I'm going to be honest, David. When Sharon D initially asked that question, my knee-jerk reaction was nobody.
Do you know why I think that, though? And hopefully, maybe you have the same reasoning.
Why?
Because it would be what we expect. Same with A-Train. We expected him to die.
Yeah.
So everybody lives, and everybody lives to suffer for next season.
If Firecracker does die, I hope she explodes in front of Homelander and she explodes into a spray of milk.
Blood and milk, which is disturbing.
Wow.
When he killed Webweaver, the whatever the hell was coming out of his web hole looked like blood and milk on the floor.
Foreshadowing. That's the worst foreshadowing. And yet it would be on brand. Ooh.
They did bring on a few new characters this season, so I feel like it would be easy to say they're the ones that would die.
So you're not any of the main characters, basically.
Maybe the Deep will die. You know what? I bet it'll be new Black Noir. And that'll be the joke, is that they have to replace him
and
again.
And then they have to recast him again.
Yeah.
Noir V3.
Yep, I could see that.
Let's just read some things about that Francisco said. Starlight sounds very condescending now, and she wasn't like that in S1. The world is changing people for the worse. I can get behind that, but it needs to be worse before it gets better. Look at that, Francisco. Love that. If the final episode in S4 is in the White House, I'll say S5 will be the rest of the boys' story, in contradicting the multiple seasons possibility.
It's always darkest before the dawn of the seven.
She just couldn't not. Homelander might die before we start seeing the boys start going down. Okay, interesting. Besides Huey will survive because he's the balance of the world. Death predictions: A-Train, Ashley, Sage, and Firecracker. So Sage is still in the story, according to...
Francisco, you shut your dirty mouth. Ashley's not going anywhere.
Not yet.
I know. Shut up.
Not yet.
Yeah, but she started becoming virtuous, so... Rachel, not to be that guy, but you have to point out the obvious.
Somebody's got to be in that building.
CEO of Vought, as she reminded us, which I was actually kind of wondering about in name that she technically is. But
maybe Ashley is a shapeshifter and we just don't know.
Oh, she is shedding her hair. Poor thing. By the way, I did not know that stress will induce alopecia.
Yeah.
Stress will do a lot to a person.
Yep.
Right. Okay. I think we've done all that we can for this episode, but let's just say that one last thing that Francisco just said. Okay, maybe Ashley won't die. Oh, she's okay. Isn't that sweet?
He relinquished.
He did that just for you, Rachel. But she might get S-faced again and listen to Dave Matthews. What a good way to leave off on. And if you like what you heard just now, disregard everything else, because I'll take credit for it anyway. Why don't you head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead, leave 5 stars or a octopus to tell us how much you love us. But tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Leave your social media handle so we know to tag you in social media. But remember to tell us after every single episode. And if you really like what you've heard and you want to join in on the fun, as Francisco is right now, I love you, bros, he says, because he loves you. Bro. Why don't you just follow us, because it's free, on either Ko-fi or Patreon. When you do, you'll get a recording schedule so you can join us in these recording sessions for free. We do not post these recording schedules on social media. It's the only place you can get them. You could probably do a web search and find them. But don't be silly. Just head on over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. And if you're feeling a little generous and you want to support what we're doing, because we have bills to pay, they're quite a lot. I just paid one recently to our editor. And it hurt. It hurt like a mother. Don't let me hurt. Don't leave me like this. Tip us at Ko-fi to receive the unedited version of this episode, as well as instant access to Discord should you avail yourself of it, and some perks in the merch store if you do that as well. But take your support further. Pay a little less. For a little as $1 a month, you could join the Walkers tier, a little bit more Discord access. And if you choose to decide to join the Whisperers and the Survivors tier, the top 2 tiers, you will get shout outs at the end of this episode first, a free t-shirt when you do sign up, free classic t-shirt. You'll be able to enjoy 50% off in our merch store, the ability to join us in our Jackbox games, live streams, should we decide to do that again. And if you happen to join the Survivors tier, you can show up in this studio on these videos with us, alongside us, with your face, damn, mouth, head, and break down these episodes along with us. There's only a couple spots left. Why don't you do it? You might want to. I don't know why you don't. And that's okay if you don't. But consider supporting us any which way you are able to. If you feel like it, we would enjoy that. And we would enjoy you. Because we are Squawking Dead. And who is Squawking Dead? It's you and also us. Like me, your host, David Cameo. And you were also joined by Cosmo09, Rachel Burt. And also Sharon D, a.k.a. Blazy Gardner. And also, well, there's nobody else. I took credit for that already. I'm kidding. It's Bridget. ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER. And Francisco in the chat. My lovely Francisco. I love you so much. Bro. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next one, the season finale of The Boys. But don't miss our coverage on House of the Dragon, because that breakdown should be coming out before this one, and then there's a live stream after that one, and then we're going to impress you even more with our insights, hopefully. And if you're not even impressed, enjoy the laughter and hilarity and chaos. Right, Francisco?
Hey, Siri, play Dave Matthews Chill Mix.
No, we're going to get copyright stricken. Bye, everybody. We'll see you later.